Hey guys, just doing a really quick video just on a summer project I did. So I did this in August. It is basically a library, if you will. Well, not really a library. A library is not really a good terminology. Feel free to use it as a library though. That allows people or people who are interested in language models to actually build their own language models from scratch. Specifically, I need to rename this away from GPT because GPT doesn't hold true anymore. But specifically, it allows you to create decoder or encoder only transforms from scratch, which is really, really useful for things like GPTs, BERTs, vision transformers, all of that lot. So I'm quite proud of this library and how it's turned out actually. So I just thought I'd sort of show you it. So it takes in, actually I can show you the README. Where is the README? There it is. So when you create your GPT object, say you're using it as like a library, it takes in vocab size, the embedding dimension, the number of layers you want to stack, whether or not it's encoder or decoder only, masked basically, the number of attention heads, and the maximum tokens. It also takes in an extra parameter now, although that's an optional one, but it is called a device, so it's the device you want to use. The reason it takes in the device is because of like a little hiccup that I haven't quite figured out yet. But if I can figure it out, it won't need to take in device. You can just say .toDevice. Anyway, as I was saying, it also lets you save and load models in a custom format. So it actually saves your settings here as a JSON, and it saves the model as a PT. And then using that information, you can just say load model, and it'll load the model straight away, which is really handy, actually. It also has a model building if you want to do it from the command line, a way to build your own vocabs. And by the way, the vocabs, we use a tokenizer here. It's not by pair encoding, but it's a way that kind of works well enough on small scale that I'm happy to just leave it as is. So it basically just splits the words up, keeps a list of commonly occurring words, and then that becomes the vocabulary. There are also special tokens like beginning of sequence, end of sequence, unknown token, padding, operator user bot agent. There's also a way to build your datasets here, which is very handy, and it doesn't take very long either. For example, I just built a dataset that has, I can't remember the exact number, but it was, I think, near 1 million. And it took about 10-15 minutes to run. It's not optimized at all. Ideally, I should be using multiple cores for it, but I was just sort of doing it sequentially. And then training methods. It does support multiple GPUs. And there's actually two different methods. So you've got training Lightning and training PyTorch. And I've separated them just for simplicity's sake. But I would definitely recommend using the multi-GPU if you want to train anything bigger than 10-20 million parameters, as my RTX 3090 still takes about anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes per epoch for 150,000 samples. And I've only recently upgraded my computer. And then there's also a really basic sort of way to run the models. And it is currently stored on my GitHub, so feel free to have a look. Don't inspect it too hard, because truthfully, I just did this as a learning tool, not just something to be taken seriously. That being said, however, this has massively improved my understanding of just transformers in general, and I will be continuing to add to this over time to really refine it, make it nicer, make it support different types. For example, I'm using PyTorch's built-in multi-head attention. I plan to replace this with my own attention. I'm also using standard sinusoidal positional encoding. This is from the StatQuest example, I should say. I do cite them at the bottom for that. However, I would like to also add in the option of rotational position encoding, because it's just more, it gives you better stability. So yeah, I do plan to keep adding to this, keep refining it and making it better. Mixture of experts is something I'd like to look into adding to it. So yeah, and different outputs too. For example, maybe a classification head allow users to put classification heads whether they should receive logic outputs or not. So yeah, I do want to keep adding to this and making it even better. So leave comments and suggest what I should add to it, and I'll hopefully get around to doing it. So yeah, I've sort of added some little references at the bottom there, which I recommend looking. I've added most of these DDP, although I don't think mine uses DDP. I'll have to look at what Lightning uses. It was a while when I wrote this. I'm just doing the video now. Cleaning up and removing spaghetti is something I'm doing at the moment. And this has been completed here. Reinforcement learning is something I want to add. I want to add a wrapper library so it can work in Hugging Face's like reinforcement learning environment, transformer reinforcement learning. But yeah, anyway, without a doubt. Oh, actually, let's show you some cool media examples. So this here was trained on a really small data set, about 10,000 examples generated by ChatGPT. Unfortunately, ChatGPT does a horrific job of generating data sets. So yeah, as a result, there was a very big bias towards pizza. Like every fifth line contained the word pizza. It'd be like, and then it would also repeat phrases a lot. So yeah, don't really use ChatGPT for that. Maybe do like a mix. But this is my best result here. So this was a about a I think it was 2 or 20 million parameter model. I'll have to check my LinkedIn. 2 or 20 million parameter model trained on masked language modeling examples. It was also masked, which is very interesting, because at the time I hadn't implemented masking and unmasking transformers, encoder, decoder, and transformers. It was just decoder only, hence why it's still called GPT. But anyway, it performed really well. So let's read out an example. So out of 10, how was the unc, unknown variable? And it responded with, out of 10, how was the crap? Which is very, very funny, actually. Enter prompt again. What was the unc part of the film? What was the worst part of the film? And then, what was the unc part? What was the worst part? Can it really be unc bad? Can it really be so bad? Let's have a look. Out of oh, how would you rate the movie out of and then it said, how would you rate the movie out of 10? So it actually had learned really well. Unfortunately, I should have taken notes of everything and saved the data set I was using, because unfortunately I have struggled to repeat these results, but they were fantastic when they worked. I was very, very proud of how that occurred. Anyway, let's start an example here. So this is trained on 150,000. Oh, I should say this was trained on the IMDb movie dataset, for reference, where this model here that I've got loaded up is trained on the wine reviews completion. So I plan to shrink the model I'm using here because 11 million parameters is quite excessive, I believe, and just sort of helping it not really learn too well. But let's ask it like a sort of a wine reviewy kind of thing. So the intense flavors, we'll let it fill the rest. The intense flavors has either comp barrier for the of course go wine. And then it sort of breaks down, hence why I think I've just thrown too big of a model at a simpler problem. So I will be trying to drop this down to maybe like 4 million parameters and seeing how that goes. But let's ask it another one. So I'm going to run it again. This is a fault with the data set. When I compiled this data set, I forgot to toggle the ending and beginning of sequence characters. So my bad. So let's start this again. We'll just put the first character there and let it guess the rest. The nose is a veiling, is to thatting in the plum butt, some or through, come and river whinny. This sort of breaks down, but you get the sort of gist. I will definitely be training a better example, and I'll put it on YouTube Shorts for all of you people to sort of have a look at. But yeah, I just thought I'd show you this pretty cool thing I've been working on. So yeah, feel free to have a play around with it, and have a good one, guys.